I think he can get to get himself there inside of our offense. I think in terms of diagramming stuff, maybe coming out of timeouts, there was one play we kind of started him there, but it really wasn't open for him. The 1-3 he did make was out of the corner. But obviously it's hard because when you're using him as kind of a facilitator where the ball's going to him and we're moving around him, you generally want him in the middle of the floor. Now, if he can work his way to the wings, with the ball and handoffs and, teams are in coverage and he can pop back maybe to the corners, that there's some opportunities there. But I don't want him to get so wrapped up in, where he is on the floor, in terms of like he's got to work at it and he's got to put the time in and he's going to have shots above the break. But I don't want to just isolate it to, hey, the only threes we want you taking are out of the corners. I think there'll be times that maybe we can do some things to help promote that. But I think overall, he's got to get a little bit more comfortable back there. And I like I've said before, he's got, I think, good discretion. He only took 3 last game. He didn't make any, but he's getting good looks and we just got to be patient with him. This is the first time in his career he's done that. And I think one of the things that he's really got to work on, and we've got to help him as a staff, is he's got to get his feet down better. I think, a lot of times where he's coming out of pick and roll, or he's coming out of actions, being able to get away and get his feet down is going to be important. And listen, it's different for him. And, I think any player, not just Wendell, if they're standing there stationary and they can catch the basketball and just shoot stationary, that's fine. But a lot of times it's hard to find shots like that, especially out of the corners for a guy just staying there and just throwing the ball to him. So I think it's something we just got to keep working with him and building with him and showing trust and confidence in him. He makes good decisions. I think he plays the right way. But no question, Darnell, what you just talked about, we've certainly, I've looked into that as well.
Thank you for explaining that.
Thanks.
Casey?
Bill, are you starting the same way as you did last game tonight?
Yes.
And following up on Patrick, we all knew this was going to be a challenging rookie transition for everybody in his class for all the reasons we've stated. But given what you guys have gone through in terms of guys missing and being shorthanded, he's almost had more responsibility placed on his plate. Have you been at all surprised at how seamless it appears his transition has come to this point?
Well, I think he's got 2 things that allow him to translate pretty quickly. Is for his size, he can put the ball on the floor and he can pass. And I think a lot of times, when guys are coming into the NBA, if they don't have a skill of handling or passing, it can be really challenging, and I think for Patrick, that's going to be the ups and downs for him, making decisions, when to drive, when to shoot, when to pass. But I think because of his ability where he does have a ball handling skill for his size. He does have vision for his size. Now, the size, the length, the speed, the quickness, of NBA game, he's going to have some moments. He probably looks really, really good. And there's some moments where he's just not going to play well. This is going to be a big learning curve for him, to your point, because of what's been kind of taken away from all these rookies as it relates to, the draft and summer league and coming in September and getting yourself ramped up for the start of the season, getting accustomed with your teammates, coaches, and being around people. That's not really happened for not only Patrick, but any of these rookies. So, I do think because of his handling and passing, it's kind of allows him to function out there.
Thank you.
Cody?
Hey, Billy, reports in the last 24 hours say the G League's going to try to have a bubble environment, but they don't expect.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part there. I'm sorry, Cody.
The G League is trying to have a bubble environment to host a shortened season, but not all teams are probably going to be invited or want to go. Do you know the status of the Windy City Bulls as it relates to just what their season might look like?
We've talked a little bit briefly about that before we left to go on the trip, that they were basically trying to maybe create a spot maybe in Atlanta where they were doing some kind of bubble. I think that at least before we left to go to Oklahoma City here, I think Arturas and Mark were looking to gather more information and evaluate, that situation. What is that going to look like? How long are you going to be there? I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. So I'll probably find out a little bit more when I get back in town after this trip.
So you don't know if you're leaning one way, yes or no, on whether to go to the bubble?
No, I think it was just a conversation to what you just said, that there was a talk about trying to get, the G League up and running. Obviously, I think I don't know what the name of the team is, Team Ignite, with some of those guys that have been maybe in high school at instead of going overseas or playing with that team, I think they probably want to create some kind of situation where guys can play in that environment. I think there's also probably a lot of teams that want to do something with younger players. When I spoke to Arturis and Mark about it, it wasn't really anything more about decision as much as it was more predicated on the fact that this is what they're trying to do. We're going to evaluate and look at, the possible different scenarios as it relates to going into it. They had mentioned to me it was maybe like 12 games over a couple weeks. So it just seemed like it was really, really, not that they didn't want to play, but like all the details were still up in the air and still being needed to be ironed out. So like I said, we left the next day and I haven't really heard any more about what kind of decision we may be prepared to make.
Thank you.
Yep.
Rob?
Hey, Billy. I just wanted to ask on the health and injury front if there's anything new today.
No, all the guys that played last game here are available tonight.
Cool. And then on the rotation, I know you've said ideally that a ramp up for a lot of the key guys is ideal in the preseason. Do you expect anything different tonight, just it being the last game, in terms of letting starters or other key guys go deeper?
I think, my feeling is to go, maybe, pretty deep into the third quarter, if not all the way through to the third quarter, see what the fourth quarter looks like. I felt pretty good with the main guys, their minutes last game. They've always, they've kind of gotten a little bit increasingly more. I think one of the things I've tried to do is kind of condense their minutes where they're having to kind of not necessarily play 12 or 14 minutes straight, but, play 8 or 9 minutes, quick blow, come back in, 6 minutes, quick blow, come back in, just to kind of help them build up their stamina and endurance. So we'll probably try to extend it at least through 3 quarters tonight.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mike, go ahead.
What's going on with Luke Cornett? I saw that he's there at the game. Looks like he's not in uniform. He's not on the injury report.
No, he's available. I think with the number of front court players that we have, giving Chris an opportunity, Gaff, Wendell, Lowry, we've kind of done some different things with Patrick and Otto at the 4 spot. So, it's one of those things. It's hard getting everybody in, but he's available to play.
Okay. Do you have any update on whether Saddle will be available when Sadaransky will be available when you get back to practice?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all those guys, I'll probably find out more when we get back into town. I really haven't really dived into that too much, just because we're going to get back. We have a day off tomorrow. We're going to get back to practice. We'll have 3 days. So I'll probably get more of an update once I get back into town. But I really haven't invested, just with the guys that we have here playing, trying to finish out these last preseason games and trying to help, the group, just us continue to get better. I'm hopeful those guys will be back, but I'm not really 100% sure.
Okay, thanks.
Darnell? Again?
Yeah, Billy, Chandler Hutchinson has kind of flown under the radar a little bit. What have you noticed out of him so far this preseason?
I think he's done silently a really, really good job. And what I mean silently is maybe he hasn't scored a lot of points. One of the things that I tried to talk to him about a little bit, just even when we started practicing, is he's obviously very athletic and dynamic when he drives the ball. He's obviously had a couple dunks that have been incredibly impressive. But I think his maturation has got to be when he gets to the basket or gets into the lane and he is not in a position to necessarily get all the way to the front of the rim, or he's trying to take shots over bigger people. He's got to find people on the perimeter. Like, he's generated some really good shots for us. Even going back to the Houston game, he got it out in transition. He drove it. 2 guys stepped up. He kicked it to Zach in the corner for a 3. The last game against Oklahoma City, he got it on the wing. He drove it. 2 guys stepped up. He jump stopped. He pivoted. He threw it back out to Lowry, got him a 3. So, him taking in his open 3-point shots, him putting the ball on the floor. And then I think the other part of his development's got to be the decision-making, making good decisions. And he's really made some very, very good decisions in terms of passing the basketball and when to drive it and, when not to force it, but when to make the extra pass. So, those kind of plays really help us generate good shots on the offensive end of the floor and also puts pressure at the basket.
We'll take a last question from Casey Johnson.
Yeah, Billy, I know we asked you last game about going back to OKC, but you've been there 3 days, and obviously it's kind of a weird time because there's so many restrictions with COVID. So what has the overall 3-day experience been like for you?
Yeah, I haven't really done anything. I mean, to be honest with you, if it's either been practice or if we're meeting as a team or watching film, I'm pretty much in the room. I'm trying to, keep myself safe. Obviously, people have reached out and have wanted to get together or say hello, and I'm just trying to be safe. I feel like that's my responsibility. So I haven't done anything. I've been, I could be in Alaska right now for all you know. It doesn't really make a difference. I'm just in my hotel room, so I go from the arena from practice to the hotel room or back to the arena for the game or for shoot around. And I'm just pretty much in the hotel room. And thank God they've allowed us to utilize the exercise room. So that kind of keeps me somewhat sane, but I haven't done anything. And I'm just a little bit, concerned with all that's going on, especially just trying to keep myself and everyone else around me safe.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.